Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Derek. Consider this a continuation of my first video on the death of rapper Nipsey Hussle at the age of 33. I'll gloss over the numerology, but I did make a 15-minute video discussing what I uncovered there. So feel free to check that one out first. I'm going to link that video down below in the description once I'm finished with this live stream, once everything goes live. But I definitely wanted to do a second video to talk about the deeper parts of this riddle. The shorter video, maybe you could share that with someone you know to talk about how this code is being used if you need a little help. But I just want to go a little bit deeper into this ritual. I want to make a video where I don't have to worry about the time, because even rituals like this, people need to understand these are aligned with the dates that local politicians took office. And I usually wouldn't think to measure to these dates with the death of a rapper, but this was such a clear eclipse sacrifice. I had to think that something else was going on. And absolutely, that's what's happening. And it's not even to say that the politicians who are in office even have a clue that their names are being used like this. But when you pay attention and you understand this code, it's clear as frickin' day what's happening. So I will try to maybe keep my eye on the chat for this video. No guarantees, though, because I like using my calculator during the videos. And just to quickly talk about what I mentioned in the first video, Nipsey Hussle dead at 33. Hussle equals 33. 33, a number of sacrifice, the age at which Jesus was crucified. Crucifixion of Jesus Christ equals 303, just like this man's full name. The word eclipse equals 33. He was crucified during an eclipse, according to most historians. Nipsey Hussle died a span of 3 months, 3 days before this year's total solar eclipse. Now remember the last total solar eclipse, August 21st of 2017. If you go backwards 3 months and 3 days from that eclipse, you get May 18th of 2017. And when did Chris Cornell die? Oh, that's right, May 18th, 2017, Chris Cornell. Chris equals 33 in the reverse alphabetic order reduced. Furthermore, the 33rd prime is 137. Total eclipse equals 137. The name Ermias Esgetum equals 137, and he died 137 days before his birthday. Also, Nipsey equals 74, just like Jesus, just like rapper. Hussle equals 84. He died exactly a span of 84 weeks after the Great American Total Solar Eclipse. It was also 84 days after the most recent partial eclipse. He was killed outside marathon clothing. Marathon equals 84 in both primary Kabbalah methods. His date of birth ties in perfectly to the eclipse crucifixion code. The date 15/8, the 227th day of the year. He died 409 days after the release of his one and only studio album, and of course 227, the 49th prime number. He also died on a date with perfect sacrifice and kill numerology, both in English and Hebrew. So that's what I uncovered in my first video. That was the condensed version. You know how you can go to MLB.com and get like the condensed games? That was a condensed decode right there. Just hitting you left and right. Now, the headline that CNN gave us, let's quick check CNN, see if they changed the headlines. Doesn't look like they did. That headline sums to 4,087. Using English extended. Now, in numerology, we know that these zeros are irrelevant. So this represents the number 487. Whether you like it or not, this is how numerology works. 487 is a prime number. Uh-oh. Did I lose internet? Or is it just my website? Am I still on? All right. I think I'm on. All right. Well, you know, I was live streaming yesterday and got cut partway through, so not always certain. But anyway, 487 is the 93rd prime number. In reduction, rapper Nipsey Hussle equals 93. And he died 93 days before the next total solar eclipse. And 93, this is a significant number to Christianity. The word crucifix, 93. Remember, Jesus was of Nazareth, 93. Think about how the sun is 93 million miles away. Well, God's son equals 93, using the alphabetic order. And check out Jewish Gematria. God's son equals 331. That's the date on which Nipsey Hussle died. And this is all interesting in light of the fact that I just recently did some work on the deaths of Bruce and Brandon Lee. And I pointed out that Brandon Lee died on the date March 31st in the year 93. So once again, the numbers 93 and 331 being used in connection with an eclipse ritual. Yeah, I don't even think I mentioned that in the post. I think I caught that in the video. This CNN headline, by the way, also had Gematria of 316 in reduction. 316. Well, we know this number. In Hebrew Gematria, Jesus Christ, 316. Remember the Bible verse, John 3:16, for God so loved the world, he sent his one and only Son, that whoever believed in him shall have eternal life. I may have paraphrased that. My memory work teacher wouldn't be very proud of me. That's what happens when you go to Lutheran school for 3 years. You got to memorize Bible verses. They also gave us a 1016 in Gematria, which is an upside down 911. 911, the satanic value of ritual human sacrifice. 911, also the 156th prime number. 33, summing to 156 in ordinal. So that brings us to my second post on Nipsey Hussle. I thought, this is such a clear eclipse sacrifice. It seems to be very significant. This rapper was just recently nominated for a Grammy this year. It was the 61st Grammys, by the way. Notice how the word Jesus also sums to 61 in reverse. So I thought it's possible that this could be related to the man who recently took over as governor of California. Here we got Gavin Newsom. And sure enough, even his middle name has Christ in it, Christopher. Notice how the name Gavin Newsom sums to 142 in the alphabetic order. Nipsey Hussle is Gavin Newsom's eclipse sacrifice, equals 142, and I'll prove this through the numbers. Of course, proof here is arbitrary, but when you look at numbers as often as I do, you know when you're running into coincidences, and this is absolutely anything but. Gavin Newsom took over as governor on January 7th of 2019. This means that on the date Nipsey Hussle was murdered, it was his 84th day in office. The name Hussle equals 84. And as I mentioned, Nipsey Hussle died exactly 84 weeks after the most recent total solar eclipse and 84 days after the most recent partial eclipse. Not only does the name Hussle equal 84, but if we crack open our two primary Kabbalah ciphers, which I try not to use too often because people say you can do anything with numbers, but these ciphers are definitely observed, at the very least. He was shot dead outside of Marathon clothing store. And look at how Marathon sums to 84 in both ALW and KFW. So we looked at the date that Gavin Newsom took office. What if we instead look at his birthday, October 10th? Well, we find that Nipsey Hussle was murdered 172 days after Gavin Newsom's birthday. And look at the alphabetic order gematria of Nipsey Hussle. It's 172. The name Ermias Davidson Eskedem, which up until this morning was said to be Nipsey Hussle's full name on Wikipedia. And remember, you can always look at what they're up to. You can check out the history. And if you go back earlier in the day, say to this morning, look at this. There's his middle name. He's got a middle name there. So I don't know why they took it out. Maybe they couldn't verify it, but it could be just that they're hiding more knowledge from us. Anyway, this name sums to 225 in the alphabetic order. And if you measure from the date that Gavin Newsom took office, it was 2 months and 25 days before his death. Also notice this is 83 days. His name equals 83 with the S exception. 83 also the gematria of total and solar eclipse in Hebrew. Murder also sums to 83 in the reverse reduction method. In ordinal, it sums to 79. And these two numbers stand out because Ermias Eskedem, and again, if I'm pronouncing this wrong, I apologize. His name sums to 79 and 83, and he was shot outside of his Marathon clothing store. Marathon Clothing, 79 and 83. March 31st, by the way, is the 90th day of the year. Marathon equals 90 in ordinal. But there appears to be even more alignments with the governor of California. It just blows my mind. Here we're going to look at English Extended. This is the 26-letter cipher that uses the ancient Hebrew Gematria and Greek isopsephy charts, where it amplifies the numbers instead of reducing them. This man's name, Gavin Newsom, equals 1222 in English Extended. And if you measure from the date of the most recent total solar eclipse to the date of Nipsey Hussle's death, it was 1 year and 222 days. The word eclipse equals 222 also in that same method. Now the name Gavin sums to 53 in ordinal. Gavin is the mayor of Los Angeles, which sums to 53 in reverse reduction. The date on which Nipsey Hussle died had standard numerology, 3 plus 31 plus 19 of 53. With the dollar signs instead of the S's, Nipsey Hussle equals 53 in reduction. This is the same gematria as solar eclipse, 53 and 134. Furthermore, the 53rd prime number is 241. The name Ermias Eskedem in the reverse order equals 241. So look at this. Look at how all of these numbers are relevant. And look at this, 410. Wait a minute. I know this is significant to something. I'm going to go off the cuff real quickly. Was it his album release? No, that was 409 days. So a little bit about nothing there. But we explained the 49 earlier in my first video. All right, one more step. The name Gavin equals 228 in Satanic Gematria. This is the Sumerian value of the word death, 228. And Nipsey Hussle died 228 days after his birthday. So, without a doubt, guys, I mean, how crazy is this? That they're lining up the death of rappers with the governor of California, Gavin Newsom. And I already knew something was up with this guy. He's got that Revelation birth date, 10/10, October 10th. Revelation equals 10/10. And then, like, within days of him being elected, we had the Woolsey fire, which obliterated a huge section of California, as well as other wildfires. So no, Nipsey Hussle was not the birth name. The birth name is this Ermias Esgetum, which I've been butchering throughout the course of my 2 videos, I'm sure. And to expand on this comment, I think you're right in the symbolism here, right? I mean, we know that Jesus equals 74, just like rapper. But really, guys, I mean, assuming Jesus was real, there's no chance he was a white guy, right? I mean, that seems really unlikely based on the ethnicities and demographics. So there's a little bit of symbolism here in murdering black men by this Eclipse crucifixion code. It's really sick what's going on. Thank you again for all the kind words in the chat. Again, if I didn't believe that this language was integral to waking people up to this matrix, this control matrix, this control structure that we're living under, I wouldn't be doing this. I mean, I dropped pretty much everything in my life, all my hobbies, to make sure that people understood this to the best ability that I could. And apparently, I'm not doing a damn good enough job because not enough people are waking up. Before I go on to special shout out to my Discord, I just want to throw out that if you go to my website and go to, well, let's just go to gematrinator.com. If you check out the miscellaneous link on the top bar and click the Discord chat, this will take you to a chat room where people are discussing numerology pretty much literally all day. And I'm not always involved in the chat. In fact, I'm usually parked afar. You know, I spend enough time on this numerology business. But do feel free to pop into the Discord. Special shout out to everybody there. And, you know, they help make my life a little more interesting. And oftentimes it's just a matter of linking me to a news article that they want to see decoded. And quite often they do end up seeing that story get decoded. So that's probably the best way to get a hold of me right now. It's a lot better than email. My email is so backed up. I tried catching up last week, and I only got so far. But yeah, I mean, you know, think about how small our channels were. Talking about mine and Zach's when we got censored. You know, his first channel got up to about 60,000 subscribers, about where he is now with his current channel. And it was just a few months after my calculator went live that they axed his channel. They axed my channel with, I think, exactly 7,077 subscribers, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know, they let a lot of these other truth channels get really, really big, hundreds of thousands of subscribers before they delete them. But for us, they don't wait very long because they know for a fact that if this knowledge is getting out to the masses, that absolutely will start waking up more people. All right, so just to continue, I talked about how the death of Nipsey Hussle in Los Angeles, California was a ritual completely related to Gavin Newsom, the new governor of California, as ridiculous as it seems. Well, it turns out this ritual was also loosely related to the mayor of Los Angeles. Now, the mayor of L.A., he's been in office for much longer than Gavin Newsom. Newsom just assumed his role in January. Eric Garcetti has been the mayor of Los Angeles since 2013. So let's take a look here. Eric Garcetti, born February 4th, 1971. He assumed office on July 1st of 2013. That means on the date of this murder, he was in office for a span of exactly 69 months. The word eclipse equals 69. But what a lot of people don't understand is that the 69th prime number equals 347. In Hebrew, the word sacrifice equals 347. Whoa. What happened here? Oh, you got to be kidding me. Well, it used to be 347. Okay, this one, sacrifice or immolate, I see. So there's different versions. But this one is also a verified version of sacrifice, 347, the 69th prime number. And again, it's eclipses that sacrifices are almost always in relation to. What's also interesting is that March 31st was also 69 days after the most recent total lunar eclipse that occurred on January 21st. Also, if you measure from his death to the next Great American total solar eclipse, which occurs in 2024, you find it's a span of 60 months and 9 days. Next, I just want to point out how Garcetti, on the date that Nipsey Hussle was killed, he was 55 days after his birthday. And the words sacrifice and Los Angeles sum to 55 in reduction. Now, we can also measure from Nipsey Hussle's death to the next total lunar eclipse. Here we get 787 days. And this is an interesting number because Freemasonry equals 787. But what's more interesting in this case is that 787 is the 138th prime number. And look at this guy's real name's full gematria in Jewish, 1308, like 138. And in square numbers, Marathon equals 1380. He was killed outside of Marathon clothing. And I don't know, maybe that's a stretch, but in light of everything else I shared and how we know that this is a major eclipse sacrifice, I don't think it is. And remember, guys, if you ever want to give someone a brief, quick, easy rundown of how this eclipse crucifixion code works, I will once again go over what I believe is the best example. In 2017, Chris Cornell died. It was said that he hung himself in his hotel room by the doorknob, which was completely ridiculous. A lot of people believe this, and that's fine. Good for them. But we know that this isn't the truth. This is all a numeric ritual in relation to the 2017 Great American Total Solar Eclipse. Chris Cornell died 3 months, 3 days before the eclipse, just like how Nipsey Hussle died 3 months, 3 days before this year's total solar eclipse. The name Chris equals 33. Chris Cornell was born on July 20th. One of his best friends was Chester Bennington, who also died on July 20th later that year. Chester sang at his funeral. Forgot if I mentioned that. The name Chester also equals 33 in reduction. And if you measure from the death of Chester Bennington to that same eclipse, you find it was a span of 33 days. So that pretty much locks it up. I mean, Rockstar equals 33. Eclipse equals 33. Also notice how Rockstar equals 414. That's the same as the Sumerian gematria of eclipse. And when Chester Bennington died, he was born in the year 1976. Look how old he was. 41 years and 4 months, exactly. So, this is definitely in play. Like we mentioned, Biggie died on March 9th, or 3/9. It was the same date as a total solar eclipse, which equals 39. All right, guys, so that's pretty much all I got on this death. I'm sure there's a lot more to this. Someone mentioned, about measuring to the date on which he punched somebody. I'm sure that is all aligned with his death. But again, I can't make these Gematria videos forever, so the idea is that this knowledge gets transferred to the public, that we now understand basically exactly what's happening. And again, in our search for truth, we're all looking to figure out exactly what's happening. And I don't necessarily think that Gematria is the answer to exactly what's happening, but it is absolutely a window into the answer of what's happening. And my belief is that the record industry is signing these men by the numbers. They choose men with the right birth date. You know, I'm sure, I haven't listened to Nipsey Hussle's music. I'm sure the man was talented to some degree. He doesn't get nominated for a Grammy without some talent. At least I hope not. You know, some of these rappers are really actually quite bad. But my point is that there's a large pool of rappers that they can choose from when it comes to signing artists. Then they'll give that artist a special name like XXX Tentacion. You think that guy chose that name? No, that's a bunch of bullshit. And then they set these people up to die by the numbers. I mean, if this man really truly was gunned down and murdered, which I think is entirely possible, he was certainly set up to be in the place that he was. You know, his agent probably told him about a meeting or something like that. At least that's my theory. Of course, you could also say that this is all happening just by the numbers. You know, I mean, look at, for instance, I had a cousin who I believe actually died by the eclipse crucifixion code. Now, notice how there was only one total solar eclipse in 2003 or 2004 on the date November 23rd. And yes, this is a large part of the reason I still make these videos, because this is very personal to me, and I want to get to the bottom of the truth. My cousin died 3 months and 3 days, with the end date included, after that eclipse. And he died on the date February 25th. It was in the city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And to think about how Jesus was crucified and then rose 3 days later. My cousin had a stroke on a Saturday and then died on on a Wednesday. So it was like a little bit more than 3 days later that he actually died with his second stroke. So, I mean, was my cousin also murdered by this code? Because if he was, that means that there's a whole lot of people in on this, and it's actually quite scary. And that's the point at which I start to question my intelligence about sharing this information, because if that's true, then this reality is a lot darker than we think. So, the extent to which this code is organic, I have no idea, but either way, the knowledge that I'm sharing, the numerology that's here, it has to be known by people if we ever want to get to the absolute truth. Because I feel like they think this is a little too close to the truth, you know? All right, guys, I'm hungry. I got some chili to make. So I'm going to get that done. It's going to be my last batch before the cold weather ends. So I'm going to make this one nice and spicy. That's just how I roll. All right, everybody. Thanks and God bless to everyone in the chat. Sorry I missed the shout-out on the first video. I wanted to keep that one a little bit shorter so that more people could digest its content. I understand I go over too much. I make things a little too complicated for people. But I don't really care, you know. When you think you've discovered the source code, you don't shy away from that, you know. So this Eclipse code is definitely a big part of it. All right, guys. Thanks again. Whether you're watching live or archived, please smash that like, share, or subscribe button. If you do smash the button, make sure you do it an odd number of times so that you remain subscribed and liked on the video. And, yeah. Again, peace, love, and God bless. Adios.